I come from a pretty complicated family. So my dad has been married and divorced 3 times. And he's had kids in each of his marriages. So he's had 6 kids and 3 ex-wives. And somehow we all get along. But my dad is also this very eclectic fellow he's from England. So he's from England and my mom's from Germany. They met in England, they moved to the US. I was born in California. And he has this long silver hair and he is sort of a man of contrasts. He is a contractor who does hardwood floors, but he also loves the imagination. And so he teaches workshops on storytelling and on how to understand Shakespeare, and he has all these amazing events always happening at his house in a wonderful community. And my mother, who grew up in Germany in a very conservative family, then came to California and found her calling with Buddhism and is now a Zen Buddhist priest. So I have an unusual background. But the story that I want to tell today happened about 5 years ago. And it was when I was in college at UC Berkeley. And I'm from Santa Cruz, which is a little town just 2 hours, also Santa Cruz School.
Loves it.
Just a couple hours south of Berkeley. And I lived in this extremely hippie co-op. So I lived in this co-op where nudity was extremely common to the point where every Friday was Naked Pizza Friday. And that meant that the fewer clothes you wore, the closer you were to the front of the line for getting pizza. So pretty much everybody would be completely naked because everybody wanted pizza first. And it was an amazing community. It was a good place to live for a while. It was great. And one night I went to a full moon ceremony, which is appropriate for this sort of house that I was living in. And at about midnight I get home. And as I'm getting ready for bed, I get a phone call, and I look at my cell phone, and it's my dad calling me. And it was midnight, and he doesn't call me at midnight, so I almost didn't answer. But then I answered, thinking like, well, he usually does not call me at midnight. So I answered, and it actually wasn't my dad. It was one of his good friends. And he told me that my dad had just had a stroke and a heart attack, and was in the hospital. And my dad is this extremely positive, very healthy, very vibrant person. So I was really shocked, totally unexpected. And he said that he had been at his home, which is a couple hours away from Santa Cruz, or about an hour away from Santa Cruz. And he had gotten a call from my dad, and they'd been talking on the phone, and as they were talking, he started slurring his words, and he wasn't making any sense. And so he told him, you need to go to the hospital. And my dad was like, no, I'm fine. And he wouldn't go, and he was really adamant that he wouldn't go. So his friend decided to drive to Santa Cruz and to take him. So that's what happened. But by the time he got there, my dad was in such a bad state and so obviously having a stroke that he had called the ambulance right away. The ambulance came, they took him to the hospital. So I get this call, and it's midnight, and I've just been at this full moon ceremony, and I just don't quite know what to do. But he called me because I was the closest. Out of all the children, I was the one who lived closest. I was the one that he knew best, that this friend of the family actually knew. So in the morning, as early as I can get up, I drive to Santa Cruz, and I go to the hospital, and there's my dad, and he's half paralyzed, and it's really shocking for me because he never gets sick. He doesn't go to the doctor. And then one by one, all my siblings fly in from other parts of the world. So my half-sister, she's from England. She lives in England still, but she was living in India, and she flew in. And my older brother flew in to New York, and another brother flew in, and my youngest brother flew in, and my sister flew in from Minneapolis. And it was amazing to have this support and have us all there for him. And so now it's 5 years later, and he's actually great. He recovered his full mobility. He has his full health. He's in really good shape. But I still remember how amazing it was to just have that support network. My family they're there for me.